Hi there, the image with this camera is somewhat dramatic, but my advanced video camera broke down. I'm trying to repair it. But just one remark on the gold-silver market and the economy as a whole. I think that if you want to describe the process that happened since Reaganomics and Summers came into power, basically, is that the corporations realized that it's a matter of giving money to consumers so that they can buy the stuff. And because oil is never denied, if you have enough dollars, you can drive production and increase profits without any limits. If you do that, if you simply create the money. And because it's a one-way process, the money ends up in the corporations. Of course, it's handed out to some of the employees. It ends up in the banks. It causes inflation, which only means that you need more money in the beginning to allow people to buy the same stuff again and again and again. And as long as there's enough oil, then there's no problem, which is goes back to this equation. Energy is the number of people times a factor. As long as you don't limit energy, you'll get more people and you'll get more stuff that they need. You get more purchasing demand. And that drives the economy if you're a corporation. And if you're in a battle amongst corporations and businesses, then there's really no way to limit this. If you want to stop the game, if you want to stop the race, you're out of the race. And if you're out of the race, you're immediately really out of the race, because you get picked apart by people that do the bankruptcies, and all these people are, of course, quite understandably corrupt, because it's all about money and about enabling the next winner. So this is what happened. It's basically people that keep staring at the debt are staring at the trees and missing the forest. It's a debt that's never going to be repaid. That is a certainty. That's the whole essence of this debt. It is not a debt because, of course, nobody really needs that money, because new money is created all the time. One of my key understandings is debt is only debt if somebody needs it. So if I, owe a mortgage to a bank, that's not real debt, because the bank doesn't need that money, because it created it when it gave it to me. But if I borrow 10 bucks from a friend who has to live and has to buy his food with money that he is assumed to have when I give it back, then he needs it, and it's a real debt, and I have to repay it. So debt is not. So there's different types of debt, but in this case, the whole, let's say, deficit that has been built up was simply built up because the corporations in the US were competing with each other, and the banks in the US were competing with each other, and they found that energy was unlimited as long as you could buy it. And then it's a simple step to simply buy the stuff with money that you create out of thin air by any means possible. It really doesn't matter. The mistake, of course, is that they didn't count with smart foreigners, like Chinese people that educate themselves very well, that have gone through a number of cycles with gold and silver over the centuries, that know that there should be a limit to the monetary means of exchange, and that have basically that come from a place where energy is not unlimited. Now they're experiencing a situation where energy seems to be unlimited, and they're finding out that, of course, the Americans want to keep that myth up because it's the basis for the whole industry. But and that's about to become a fight now with the exercises of the US and South Korea in the neighborhood of North Korea, and North Korea threatening to bomb that exercise with a nuclear weapon. Hooray! But so talking about the debt is nonsense. It's nonsense in the way that you basically ruined the whole situation. You should, of course, go to gold and silver as a means of exchange, if only because it's a limited resource. If only if it kind of can keep pace with the population, because the important thing is that every citizen has just enough money to basically live to sustain itself. That type of means of exchange it needs. So I need enough money to make choices in the market and to satisfy my needs. And then the way that I spend my money and everybody else spends his money determines the quality of the products that I find in the market, because I can move my money away from bread that tastes like cardboard towards bread that tastes better but costs the same. And that way I'm voting for quality as a consumer. Now in the current environment that is completely screwed up by all kinds of credit and etc. etc. And of course it's also completely screwed up by a mentality that has been installed in the minds of people that for instance it's cool to have more debt. So basically the money that keeps the economy going came out of the pockets of the citizens that took it upon themselves to get more debt. And of course the citizens are so stupid, they're like fantastic, because with citizens you can pretend that the debt is a real need and you have to recuperate it. So that means you get your money back. So as a corporation, as a company, as a business, as a banking system, you can churn that money, get the oil out of Saudi Arabia, produce goods and services, and then you'll find that the citizen want to pay you that money back. That's hilarious. Think about it that way. It's just hilarious to see people scourging around to pay back their debts to banks. Because the money, the oil has been burned, the energy has been expended, the products has been produced, the profit has been made, and the bank has become rich, but the citizen is left with something that he didn't know. If he wasn't given the option, then he wouldn't have a problem. So whose problem is it? It's a fictitious problem. It's my position, because face it, if you want to survive, if you even want to avert, of course, my main priority would be to avert the mega catastrophe that global climate change means for all life on Earth, because we don't want that methane hydrates to come out of the sea. We don't want the ocean currents to stop, and that will happen if the temperatures rise. It's just a physical reality. You can do experiments in the laboratory 1,000 times, and the outcome is every time the same. So you know that that's going to happen. You have a mechanism. So in order to deal with that, you should immediately cancel all the debt to all the citizens. Try to find out where all the resources are that you actually need. Try to find out how incredibly bad the energy balance is at the moment, with the E is people times factor. So how much people can you actually sustain with the energy that's available and is going to be available in the next 10 years? So what do you need to share amongst each other in order to make sure that that equation keeps working for everybody, so people don't have to die? That's the reality. And much rather than having to deal with moronic bankers, psychos, people that are on a constant self-induced rational high of a myth of their own ability and the rationality and the fairness of what they're doing, just rip the suits from their bodies, throw them out in the street, and make them face reality, because that's what's really needed. If you want to deal with reality, make sure that everybody tries to. You can't have people saying in the street, oh well yes, we're gonna go hungry now because we don't get money from the banks, and then they're talking about, of course, the food that they get from the Walmart, where they don't know where the bread comes from and where the grain comes from, and how the fertilizer and how much fuel the farmer has, and they don't know that the farm is completely squashed by the banks already and is barely making a profit besides from subsidies. You see, it's all a racket. And the reality, if you want to deal with reality, make sure that things are real. That's my message. And I'm getting a little bit fired up because really I don't like humanity to go extinct.